Alright, do you want to watch a film with a strong female lead? No, you don't. You don't? It's a bit sexist of you. So click off the video now. For anybody who does, we're talking about Wonder Woman today. I'm excited about this one. Wonder Woman was one of the first good DC films in a while. I quite like a lot of the DC films, but this one I think blew it out of the park for them, and with Gal Gadot as the strong female lead. I think it works very well, and I decided to talk about this one today mainly because the second one I think should still come out this year, and I can do a review on that one. So I thought I might as well cover the one before, just so you have an idea what you're sort of looking for in the sequel. So then when I watch the sequel, I can tell you if you need to watch this one. So let's review it. Now it already has top scores. Of course it would. It is a fantastic film. It's got 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. It's got 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's got 4 out of 5 on Common Scenes Media. I think it's an action war film. 2 hours 29 minutes, about 2.5 hours. Came out 15th of May 2017, but that's in Shanghai, so I don't know when it comes out in the UK. It's directed by Patty Jenkins. And the story was by Zack Snyder, obviously. The box office, it did 821.8 million US dollars, and the budget was 120 to 150 million. So they blew it out of the park with this film. So let's talk the story. It's me being a big comic book nerd. I'm obviously, as a child, you're not the biggest fan of the female leads, but Wonder Woman is incredibly powerful. It's insane how much power she has. And basically it starts off with her just in a scene in, I think, her office or like work job, and then she just goes back, looks at one of her old pictures and remembers the history. Now as a child she'd watch these Amazon princesses because she was from a tribe called the Amazonians, which are strong female warriors. She'd watch them as a kid. And alright, so basically what I was saying is she has a flashback as a kid. She's watching all the Amazonian princess fight, and then eventually I think her mother or something doesn't want her to fight, but eventually she gets convinced and she learns to fight, and she eventually becomes the best Amazonian warrior that there is, and she gets some cool weapons as well. But when they know that the most powerful is when she hits her two gauntlets together, and it makes a pretty solid sound vibration, and those gauntlets are incredibly powerful as well. So eventually there's this guy who rocks up on the beach named Steve Trevor, and he basically is a guy from the army, and they have to avoid invasion, so other people come in, and then the Amazonians eventually chase them away, but a few people do die. And they get all the information they want from Steve Trevor because they have the lasso of truth, which essentially just makes anyone tell the truth. They do that. He gives them all the information. Eventually, Wonder Woman does go with him to stop the war because she thinks Ares is the cause of this war. The god of war, obviously, Ares. So she goes with him to the human world, and she sees how much destruction and devastation they're causing, how much they're fighting each other constantly, and how many people are being affected by all of this. So eventually she gets into a war situation. They're like, no, you can't go out there, it's too dangerous. She goes out there, she kills it, she destroys, blocks every shot, and just starts laying fools down like there's no tomorrow. But the thing with Wonder Woman is that she's kept going to try and find the big evil German guy who she thinks is Ares, and then she has to try and find him eventually. Steve wants her to stick to a plan and try to do it his way, but she's like, I just gotta kill him and then all the war will end. Eventually she gets to who she thinks is Ares and basically kills him. It turns out that person wasn't Ares. It was a different guy, which I'm not going to spoil because, I mean, this movie is fairly old, but I don't want to spoil too much of the film. But it turns out the guy who she thought was Ares wasn't, and it was a completely different character, one that I didn't suspect at all the first time I watched it. So she has to fight him, she starts to do well, and eventually her sword gets destroyed, which is known as God Killer, and he's like, yeah, That's not called killer. You are. And then he has to try and defeat her as quickly as she can because of how powerful she really is. So eventually they clash, fight, and it all ends up well for her. She defeats Ares, but unfortunately Steve Trevor has to meet a demise to save everybody as well. But yeah, that is Wonder Woman in a nutshell. This is a fantastic film. I'm not doing it much justice right now. I think it's probably off Netflix at this point. But if you haven't seen it, you really should. Obviously, I don't know what the second one's gonna be like, but this one's still worth a watch if you have some free time. What star rating am I gonna give this? I think this deserves a. It's not my favourite film or my favourite female film. That would probably be Captain Marvel. I did prefer that one over this, but I think this still deserves a solid 7.5. If I'll be honest, I think it is still a fantastic film. I think it's one worth watching. If you're a DC fan and you hated a few of the other films, this is one that's good. Or if you're a comic book fan and you hated some of the old DC films, this is one that will bring it back and show that there's still some good hope in DC films. But other than that, that's about it for film review. I hope you enjoyed Wonder Woman today, and I hope you'll watch the movie. But for now, that's about it. So I will see you again another time. Bye. Subscribe.